we're getting into the final conversation for this hour, and folks often ask the question, when I'm spammed, when I'm hacked, what exactly then am I supposed to do? Asking the questions, okay, so how do we get around this? What is your next recourse? George Njuguna is the Director of Information Technology at Safaricom PLC, and he's our guest again this hour. George, good morning.
Good morning, and happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday. So, it'll be happy birthday for the next 1 year, and then when we turn 5, we will start again. So, thank you for being here this morning. And, we're talking about some uncomfortable things. And saying then, okay, so then what are you supposed to do when all your data is lost? Somebody has hacked me, my data has been compromised. And when they come for my data, then what am I supposed to do? We'll go into the nitty-gritty of it. But, let's welcome you with the T, and CT has it.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Uganda. One can claim to have many friends until they fall on bad times.
What do you think about that, George?
I've actually written, this is one of the things I was most looking forward to.
Of the proverb,
to hear the proverb. And because African proverbs have a way of hitting home, and sometimes when you hear it in vernacular, it even hits.
Yeah.
So I do like it. I think of my reflections on Ugandan literature, certainly is burdens, and I still try to remember that quote about too much ambition and too little ambition. So I'll see you after the show, so you can tell me. It was something like Tinker was telling him, too much is bad, too little is good. Yeah. So, but certainly it is true, because in the good times, everybody is with you and wants to be associated. But then when you face certain trouble, or maybe sometimes you stink, I think it's only true friends who stick close.
It's true.
Actually, at some point we forget. It's not that they're not true friends. They are, for instance, like you, there are people who are true friends of your job and your title. We have people who are true friends of the fact that we work in media.
Yes.
And the moment that isn't there,
yes, and
it's just you without the trappings of the job and the title, then somehow that friendship. But then we flipped the question and asked about what sort of friend are we?
Yes.
Are we also that fair weather friend, or are we a different kind of friend? That's the question we asked ourselves.
They're with you for what you have and what you do, not who you are.
No. Who you are is secondary.
Right.
Yes.
So to get into this conversation, as a director for information technology, and then, pegging on this conversation, what exactly do you do? Are you a super spy for technology? What exactly do you do?
Jeez, that's really fantastic
Isn't
title. I've never thought of it. I think I'll tell my team I should be called a super spy. But the core of it is, we need to ensure that our services that we offer our customers are always available, what we call always on. But also there's always secure. That's as equally important. You can be on but not secure. That means you have a pipe open and everybody's coming through. So we need to make sure that the good stuff is coming through and keeping out things that are not good. But also, I think core to it is being part of the innovation and product solution development. And in there is where we start to build cyber, because we talk about building with security in. Before, we used to do what we call dev and ops. Dev being development, ops being operations. Now it's DevSecOps, because you bring security also into it. So it's not this thing that after you've done all your development, you come at the end. You actually have it in the building. But I think one of the more exciting parts of my role is people, and just seeing how we can grow digital talent and cybersecurity. The topic today is one of those core areas, whereas we've been actively working to build capability. But Safaricom's vision is to be a purpose-led technology company by 2025. I think we're right at the center of that, because that means moving from this telco with the fintech M-Pesa to a tech company. IT is very much at the center of that transformation, and then we need to build talent, not just within our organization, but also within the industry, because we are a part of our community, a country, Kenya. So if we are becoming a technology company, it's Kenya that also enables us to become that, and we also need to enable the same for Kenya.
Yeah.
George, what's purpose-led technology? I mean, the other technology that we've had, what has it been leading if it isn't purpose?
That's a good question. Safaricom, we believe our purpose is transforming lives. So it's not just about being any other technology company.
Repeat that again, George. Your purpose is?
Transforming lives.
I see. So the money you make is incidental.
the money you have people and purpose before profit.
Yes. Okay.
So cybersecurity has been front and center of our conversation, especially when there was the possibility of a threat. Then we saw on national platforms, right? And then after that, people were looking to orbs and all kinds of things were going on, and then data purportedly stolen or not stolen. It's been front and center of the conversation, at least for a few months now in Kenya. What would you say is the state of things? Are we always under threat when it comes to our data then being stolen or compromised?
You know, I have to be honest, and I know you're going to ask me difficult questions. I know this is being recorded. You are under threat. We are all under threat. And the fact of the matter, you know, the statistics just from last year is that the losses just last year from cyber globally was $8 trillion. So that number, every year, it grows. And the US alone was reporting 10.3 billion. And anytime you hear these numbers, know that what is not said is much more than what is reported.
Okay, George, when you talk about a loss of $8 trillion, what are we talking about here? That your data is lost and what? Then somebody sells it on the black market?
Yes.
Or you kind of like pay ransom? It's like somebody being kidnapped. In this case, you are cybernapped, right? And then in order to get your data back, you have to pay. Is that what we're talking about in terms of losses?
No, so it's ransomware. It's people accessing your bank accounts. It's people stealing critical information that and using it sometimes even not just against you, but even perhaps to even compete. But ransomware has been on the rise, and on ransomware attacks, most of the time they want to be paid on Bitcoin. And even the Bitcoin guys have been hit. And so it's just a constant threat here that's evolving. And when you talk about the selling, that's the dark web. And the same way you think about the World Wide Web that we all use, also the cyber guys have their own web. And you bring the credit card number, 16 digits, me, I'll get the date of birth, you get the national ID or the passport number, you get that CVV at the back, and you meet and you trade. And that's the type of world that we're operating. And the more digital we get, the more cyber threats become important. I think in one of the conversations I was having with the government, I was saying, the more you're going digital, cyber has to be there, because all of a sudden you realize that critical services can't be offered, and you don't want to think about protection when something has happened. You need to think about it front and center, because as you develop, you launch this, somebody else is looking to do this. I mean, simple case that we deal with sometimes, especially when we used to launch new bundles or products on USSD. You have some young people who are very bright, and they're just seeing how to game the system. And luckily, we've also become friends with some of them. And like in Safaricom, we have what we call a bug bounty program, where if you identify a vulnerability in our systems, we actually pay you for that. But a condition also, you need to show us how you picked it up. So some of us have also a KPI to keep that down. So we need to build secure systems, but then you then allow ethical hacking, that people can tell you, hey, you have a vulnerability here, but I'm a good guy telling you. So it's all those. But, you know, to your point, I mean, just right now, as we increase digital inclusion and everybody has a mobile phone and they're on and you're traveling airports, and these days you'll join any hotspot. But sometimes you're joining a hotspot and all your things are just taken. But the craziest one that we've seen, and it's now being used, is where your computer, your phone, is being used as an attack vector.
Okay.
So I want to hit all of a bunch of people. So you've just left, I see out here probably 500 machines or something. All of a sudden, they're attacking systems of the government of Kenya. And you're like, but me, I was in the studio. Nothing was happening. So now that's the level of sophistication that's coming about.
Where is this happening?
We've seen it even here. And so we call them, sometimes you'll hear us talk about bots. And so you get some bots are actually attacking from your device, and all of a sudden you're seeing, you think you're just on Microsoft Word and on doing a PowerPoint, but you're seeing your computer's capacity utilization and bandwidth is extremely high. Your machine, and so on one of the attacks, I won't mention which one, when we began to investigate where it's coming from, all of a sudden you're seeing friendly countries, all sorts. It's distributed, especially when you have what we call the DDoS, the distributed denial of service. That's when somebody just tries to jam so much traffic that good traffic and your systems go down. You think typically some of these would come from somebody is orchestrating it, and you can almost be able to pinpoint. But now you see it's CT's machine at home, and CT doesn't even know how to do a bot or how to send a cyber attack.
Do a bot. I don't even know what it is.
You don't know how to do a bot.
And to do it, what do you need to do, or what do you need to buy?
Yeah.
You see, there's something I've heard of. This is a problem with reading. You come across information you don't fully understand and it disturbs you. SIM cloning. I have heard that people can actually clone your SIM and do very nefarious things with whatever it is that you have on your phone or in your bank account or other things that you normally use the internet for. Scary stuff.
It is.
I almost don't want to use my phone.
You need to be very careful. You know, I tell people, and, you know, in organizations, I started my career in cybersecurity actually in the US in about 2006. And at a basic level, we were telling people, have a complex password. And people did not want it. And
you can forget your password. That's a problem.
That's a we say sometimes passwords are like underwear.
Yes.
It should be hidden. Anyway, let me not continue. But
I don't know if you want to continue with that.
Nobody should see it. You should change it regularly. So anyway, as we continue, I'll keep dropping this. But the fact is, people are thinking, why are you making life so difficult for us? Until something happens. And then you find it's that person who typically you'll have maybe your name or your child's name, your date of birth. Some people don't even go to the actual days, their years. So, 19, whatever. And so you have these systems that it's very simple. They'll just keep trying. And they'll try a number of combinations to do with things with you. And they actually crack them. And you see like a pin that we use for cards, a pin you're using for M-Pesa, it's 4 digits. You guess how many? I can just guess.
How many combinations?
How
you
many?
Need
to figure it out.
It's not that difficult, is it?
It's not that difficult.
No.
And so that's why then you now start having things like after 3 wrong attempts, lock it. And so people are like, no, why do you do it? Then you have to call. Then now we introduce then what we say 2-factor authentication, which means even if you got the password right, we need another factor. So sometimes it might be your thumbprint, it might be your face, it might be a code sent to another device. And so you're seeing this, and you'll see it on the most simple or complex of systems. Sometimes you feel it's onerous, but the inability to do it, you find yourself your phone and you're calling, and what happened, somebody is I'm online but it's not me. But you ended up giving those people access by making it so simple to take over your device.
So are we seeing a lot of this happening on a regular basis? And then because, you could be, and we've heard stories of this, happens quite often, that you'll say, okay, look, you're seeing a prompt often, but maybe you ignore it because you think, okay, it's just some random spam or whatever. And then maybe you check your accounts later and you find that, okay, somebody's been taking and it's minuscule amounts. So you're not going to notice. It's 5.8 shillings, 5.8 shillings, 5.8 shillings, and it could be done I don't know how many times, and that as somebody who's actually gotten into your, and you essentially taking your
identity.
Now, the interesting thing is that you're told, if you see this and it is not you who has authorized this payment, kindly get in touch. But by golly, by the time you get in touch with somebody, they've already taken half the thing. So what are you then supposed to do in the event that you sense something like this? Because like you said, folks are getting more sophisticated. Even if you have a Fort Knox password, they're getting more sophisticated, and they'll be able to crack if they were diligent enough.
No, you're right. And now some of the things that we're deploying, we're beginning to use artificial intelligence around fraud protection. So you're here in the studio, and typically between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. you're seated here. All of a sudden, from 6.
Yes.
So between 6 and 10 you're seated here. All of a sudden we see you've done a transaction in Kisumu. Or
a bit difficult.
We should be able, and that's now the algorithms we're putting in. Or all of a sudden you've done a SIM swap, then you've done a Fuliza and Mshwari. No, this is not in your behavior. So now it's beginning to put intelligence. So that's what the operators or the banks or the tech companies, we have data about you and your behavior. So how can we then come to a place to say, hey, please confirm, was this you? And when we've discussed it, we've said, you know what, I think customers will appreciate sometimes we block something, and it's better we do that, and then you actually get in touch and say this is you, as opposed to it goes through, and so we have all this information and working very actively to use it. Now, what do you say to users, to your question, is just err on the side of caution. I don't mind even people message me. I don't say, what, stop wasting my time. They're like, yeah, is this legitimate? Are you guys running this campaign? If I dial this code, is it going to ensure that I can only replace my SIM card at a shop? And I'm like, yes, thanks for checking. That is a real. And so we've also been pushing a lot of user education and say, hey, we're never going to get tired of getting phone calls where people just want to be sure that this transaction is legitimate, this message is legitimate. But when you just say, whatever, right now in this day and age, those are not things that you can take lightly or ignore.
But George, this security that you speak of, financial systems in this country all claim to be ICT compliant and everything that goes with it. But the security systems and the upgrades that we're now talking about, how have they responded to it? Is it something that they have welcomed and they've adapted? Because I know very simply, if you issue a check beyond a certain amount, you will be called. And if you don't say you authorized it, they'll not pay. At least I know about that where I bank.
Yes.
It's happened once only, because other times I don't have that sort of money.
Okay. I thought it's because these days people don't use checks. But anyway,
forget using checks. I even have a checkbook. Yes. So
naishanga. So kama yangu ile, you stay with it. So checkbook ilienda wapi? Yako iko.
I don't even know.
You carry it. What's your name?
You see the challenge people like myself sometimes have. You have this facility and you want to transfer money from the bank, say, to your phone. That's simple enough. My problem is usually trying to transfer it to somebody else, because I may get it wrong. Yes. So a check is simpler.
You need to save trees, surely. So you can get that one right.
You're trying to tell me that one leaf that I use is going to kill a tree?
No, okay.
I'm going
fair question.
I'm going somewhere with this question, George. You see, there are people whom we read about and people we hear about who have lost money in this same manner that I'm speaking of. Somebody either clones your same or does something, and colossal sums are lost. I would assume that when money is rapidly leaving your account, and in some cases we've heard of other SIMs, it's not just one, but it's amounts that ordinarily don't transact.
Yes.
And the bank doesn't respond.
Or at least not as quickly as you hope.
No, they don't respond. Even when somebody, I know of a case, even when you write, many hours later is when they respond. And I'm thinking, are they really using AI? Because the moment there is a rapid succession of withdrawals, that the alarm bell should go. And what should happen is you stop as you confirm and say, so and so. Why are you withdrawing so much money so quickly?
No, it's true. I mean, I worked in banking for 13 years. And the fact is, as we've moved to digital, we've also expanded the possible vectors of attack. The attack surface has now increased. And it's even increased even to children. So, you know, back in the day, a child could not go into a bank to transact.
No.
Now, all of a sudden, they can. And even... you know, you've left your computer open with your internet banking there. They keep watching. Daddy does this. Daddy's password is so simple. He's even put it on the computer there with glue. So all of a sudden, banking has now moved. And then now when we bring this device, the mobile phone, now it even changes. So you even find sometimes even similar thing. People use the same PIN to open their phone. It's the same PIN for their M-Pesa. It's the same for their internet banking. So the moment you get it, and even some of them, they'll draw a pattern that is so simple. So fact of the matter is, not just banks, but anybody who has customer data, who has financial transactions, you have to equally step up. As you move up in innovation, as you move up in what we call digital banking, you need to bring in security. And security on its own is difficult. If you think about it, sometimes even we see 25 million attacks coming. I don't believe it's humanly possible for human beings to be able to react. So that's why you have to bring in machine learning, artificial intelligence. And now you have a bigger army of what we'd call bots, also robots there, smart guys that you've trained. Hopefully they don't turn against you, but they're augmenting your capability. And sometimes maybe you've just stepped away a little. The systems are there. And so one of the other things we are talking with our partners, it's the same partners, many of them also in the banking sector, is what we need to be talking about cyber. When you're bringing this new upgrade, when you're bringing this new platform, don't just talk about these new features and you can do this. What's the security? And these days, almost every single technology vendor and partner I meet, I ask them, what are you doing about security? What about AI? Because the growth, we do 80 million M-Pesa transactions a day.
How many?
80 million. 80. Now, we have to ensure that certain things are being checked. I mean, if somebody was to check each of those transactions, it's not humanly possible. But then we use systems as well. But again, those systems have been built by people, and the bad guys also have these systems,
and they also have people.
They also have people. So this is what we got. It's the war that we
are fighting currently.
To fight.
Now, are we saying that once you have put in the necessary safeguards that you mentioned, you know, password that's not easily penetrable, looking at making sure that you're not sharing this information, then what happens next? And I'm going to jump in with something really quickly. When we're setting up apps on your phone, for example, and the question that pops up is, would you like this app to track your activities across other apps? What should be your default answer? Because it seems to me as that is a wide gaping hole for anybody to then, you know, you say, serve it up, please, come attack me.
Okay, some of them do it for good reasons. So you're accepting what they call cookies. And these cookies are there, and they'll see your, how do I say it? Your tracks on the web. I
think you need to define cookies, because CT now has gone to a culinary
biscuits.
Yes.
So pretty much, I can almost say you're on the web. You have searched for, you've used Google.
And they tell you we use cookies to do this, this, and the other. What are they telling you exactly?
Essentially, they're saying you're allowing us to track the activity you're doing and to keep it. And in some cases, if you read, say that they can be used for advertisement. So what happens is you'll notice that you might start getting ads. Let's say CT were searching for, I wanted to say...
Please just say Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
Because... I don't know where you were going, George.
Weightlifting machine.
Okay, fine. All
Protein.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Protein or creatine. So all of a sudden, you start being hit by ads of people who sell these things and associated things. They say also there's also a gym, there's a trainer, you have an offer. That's because you've allowed them to
why
use.
I've been getting all these ads.
And then maybe even certain data you'll put in. Sometimes you allow even them to use, let's say, your date of birth, your gender. So all of a sudden, so my default response I would tell people is no.
Don't say allow.
Don't accept.
Okay.
And these days, because of like data protection and other legislations, even on websites, they do ask for permission. That do you allow us to do this? And if you still say no, you'll still continue to do it. And you even look at things like I've had to help people clean up simple things like maps because they've allowed this something on maps. All of a sudden, all their movements, everything, it's linked with their Gmail, their Google searches.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, your footprints on the web, you've allowed everybody to see them. And so people use them for advertisement. Now the bad guys now can use them thoroughly to come and say, see, you live here. See, yesterday, see, you had gone to XYZ and you left this there. And so all of a sudden, people become very familiar with you. So my default answer, I would tell people is no.
That's
Don't
very scary,
it,
actually. So what do you do, George? And then how are you helping folks to say, look, because the thing that really then scares us is our information and then your money, whatever little or lot of it that you have. So that if there's a threat that it will disappear, then folks are more likely to then, install that first, second, third layer of protection. So what do you do if you can smell something in the wind, or if you're just, have done the basic? What now are we saying folks should actually do to protect ourselves more?
So I've been in one of those situations before, and the first thing I did is one of the things I believe you should do regularly is have a backup of your device. There's a lot of backup services offered, so back up your device securely so that at a given time you can actually just erase it and shut down until you verify everything is okay, then you come back online. And right now they even offer services where you can shut down some of your financial service, your email account, you can block your be it your WhatsApp or your Instagram, but email a lot. And you realize the moment through phishing is I'll send you an email or some link you click on purporting to be 1, 2, 3, and you yes.
Phishing is that thing spelled with PH.
Yes, phishing, PHC, uko kwenyu. So it ended up being no. So
George.
Right.
I don't want City to stop fishing. Since George said fishing is bad, so no, with a PH. Yeah. So we do basic even tests in our company where we send an email. It can even be purported to come from the CEO, and we want to see, will you click it? Will you click the link? So we run training, and I believe this needs to come more and more, where you're running even simulation exercise, and you say, you know what?
Like a fire drill.
Yeah, and you say 15% of people clicked this thing.
Yeah.
We need to do education again. Do you realize that if that was someone malicious, you would have compromised 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
So I think we need to run those. We need to run them to the end users. And I believe we need to elevate the conversation at a national level and begin not just being people who are victims, but also go on the offensive. In terms of bringing this even to primary school level, because users are sometimes some kids know how to use a device to go on the internet before they can talk or even crawl. So we need to, as people are getting into digital, they're also learning about cyber, but then we start also developing the skills in the country that you can counter this. And sometimes even some of the people who could be purported bad guys, can we win them over and begin to work with them to not just protect our systems, because this is a war. And I was talking to somebody recently in the disciplined forces, and I said, these days the battle is not where you think it is. When you talk about things like drones and the ability of, through a cyber attack, to bring down a telecommunications network, so that's all of a sudden the country can't communicate. Then you bring down electricity. If that's not an attack, I don't know what is. And then it persists for 1 day, 2 days, a week. All of a sudden, the markets are crashing. Yeah. And so you don't even need to lift a gun. And all of a sudden, you've really bombed a country.
You're in a state of war.
You're in a state of war. And so we need to start building this as a critical skill. And recently, we had an engagement with the PS Ministry of ICT as the private sector, and we said, we need to work together, because the nature of this is not one organization that can be able to fight it. We need to have a coalition where we bring private sector and public sector and even academia together, that we are now doing research in these areas where you see this and we're able to do the necessary investments. You think about it, when you have a very massive attack coming into a country like Kenya, and a lot of our internet comes through the undersea cables, you ideally should do something called scrubbing. So now let me another word. So you have scrubbing centers that pretty much remove, they study again through machine learning, apply AI, you study what is bad traffic, and you ensure the traffic doesn't even come into the country. And so those are large investments. Some of the nearest scrubbing centers for us actually are in Europe. So, but then when you start to go through scrubbing centers in Europe, you're dealing with latency. But then if we do collaborate, perhaps even not just as within Kenya, even as a region, and say, we're going to make sure that within our region, we have a scrubbing center that it's now at a national level, a regional level. We are protecting the traffic that is coming into our country. And then, because sometimes dealing with when they're in here, it's a bit different. But when you're having all these attacks coming from all over the world at a drastic, and it's just coming through the same pipe. So how do we make sure what's coming through the pipe is clean? So we need to elevate it. We need to train. And as people perhaps used to talk about being in various disciplines that were seen to be wonderful, I would say cybersecurity is a great career path that one can take. I met a young man, last part, 27 years old. He told me he lost money. Someone scammed him, some cryptocurrency. But what he decided to do is come up with a system that protects people from such things. And, you know, he was just walking me through it, asking my ideas. And I said, that's the type of mindset that we need to have, where we don't just say, let it go. We say, what can we do? Even if you lost, can you ensure that somebody else doesn't lose? So some of it is training, some of it is developing systems, some of it is processes, but we need to take this the way we take every other form of security, if not more seriously.
You know, here we are using phones, using the internet, and we think that's all that's happening. And then here you come, George, with this scary story, very, very scary story of what actually happens. And a whole world of possibilities, positive and otherwise, that it's opened. So it's like an alternate universe altogether, because here we are going about our business, and then there's this other reality, this cyber reality, where there is so much happening. And because we are now in the throes of this particular information age, we can't escape it, really. And so it keeps generating more and more and more issues that we have to keep dealing with. The age of innocence is over.
Isn't it just?
Do we go back to the dark ages?
The dark ages were good.
Well, good. Many would say.
Good. It took a year before some information got to Kenya. It was good these days. Good.
See, I'm sure you're one of those people who used to write lots of letters in high school.
How did you guess?
I can just tell with the nice eloquence. Jaber, when I see you, I can't stay in this school. I'm waiting for the next music festivals. Now it's just an SMS.
Now it's an SMS.
You broadcast it to.
And you can even tell when they've not read it.
Yes, debate. No, you are in debate club.
Look, so there's also risen, George, questions. And somebody who has all our information, like Safaricom, for example, you have everything about us, isn't it? You're dealing with our information when we were born, all of this. The other day I received a couple of months ago, happy birthday from Sarah. I was like, okay, thank you very much. So you know everything about us. You handle our money on a daily basis. And so, of course, conspiracy comes into play. And then the question is, how can you guarantee the safety of this information for the millions of people who are using this service and this platform on a daily basis, that they then can't be victimized by the very system that they use every day?
No, it's a very good question, and I think it would be very wrong for any organization, including Safaricom, to say, hey, we figured it all out. No. I think as we put in systems, other people put in systems, and these threats evolve. And so if someone asks me what keeps me up most at night, it's actually cyber. That is something that keeps me up at night, because somebody, that dark type of conspiracy and people working together and coming together really with intelligence and lots of information to attack our systems could really be could bring down so much. And one of the most important things that I talk about is digital trust. We can't lose it. It's the same way you have trust in a bank. When you take your money there, you walk away and you don't keep coming back every day to check.
Except
is the money still in the the CT goes back and says, naweza ona ile pesa yangu. Then you realize, mbona mnanipea 500 na ileta 1,000. But the fact of the matter is, you have that trust. We as practitioners of technology must maintain digital trust, because if you lose it, that's how you see people stop using your systems, because one attack took place. I think we want to be transparent, and certain things happen. We are one of the institutions where you will hear DCI. We take people to court. Many times, many institutions, and I can say this, I've worked in financial services, a guy hits this bank, same way hits the same bank on the same street, because people don't talk. People want to cover the information. Well, the most important things is we need to show that we are going to prosecute anybody who does it, be it internal or external. And so because of that and that collaboration with the security teams, you've been able to see a lot of you know, if somebody hits you 5K and you just let them get away with it, even if you sent M-Pesa to the wrong number, they will do it again.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden, they've been arrested. They're being arraigned. And I know it's a lot of work. You're like, why am I going to court? Wacha tu niache, it's only this. But no, you want to be a deterrent, because the next thing that person will go for 50K, then 500K, 1M. So we must be willing to take action the moment we identify people. As an institution, it's an area we invest in, I think held liable by multiple organizations, regulators, in terms of reporting, in terms of accountability, also with our board. But it's not an area that we are shy of investing. And I'm very happy, not just in Safaricom, but even in the industry, you're seeing a lot of collaboration and investment in this area of cyber. And I believe this will not just protect people, but also act as a deterrent when we collaborate more. But also to say, we don't have all your information.
Well, you know, I had to sound sensational, George.
Why is he suddenly telling us this?
Yeah, I had to sound sensational. You forgive me.
Why is George suddenly telling us we don't have all your information?
No, we don't have all your information. Or we don't have it in a way that it's written CT.
George,
so
what is the guilt here?
No, the guilt here is, you know, that statement, if I don't, and I'm not a lawyer, but if I don't come and
disclaim.
I need to say that. But also, encryption is important. These things cost money. I think the message to people is, you know what, prevention is better than cure.
George, let me ask the question. There's this Safaricom Engineering Summit. What is this? One of these service to mankind that you guys are putting in place, where you want the citizenry to come and understand all these complex things that we're talking about? What is it about?
The theme for this year's summit is Igniting Africa's Digital Renaissance. And no city, you're a student of history. So we believe that if you look at the Renaissance period, about the 14th, 15th century, it was a period of rebirth. It comes from the French word rebirth. And that's when you saw a lot of art and architecture and music in Europe, especially in Italy, coming alive. We believe that Africans were the leaders in technology of the past.
We were.
We talk about the Benin Wall and Timbuktu, the center of learning in that Mali Empire, where manuscripts and learners were going to teach people in Europe. We believe in digital, that we can actually begin to come alive as a continent. And so it will be a place where we'll be showcasing some of the things done by the young people in our institution as well as in the country. We'll have tracks even on cybersecurity. Please don't miss that talk. It's, I believe, on the 12th. But it's 2 days, October 11th and October 12th. We have a very exciting thing called Deep Racer CT. I won't say what it is, but you can come and show how well you've done. We'll have a track there. But also we'll be launching some exciting programs. We have a creatives track. But we're going to be showing that Kenya is a hotbed of technology.
I thought you were going to say Kenya is a hotbed of cyber attacks.
Of innovation and digital engineering. And those who tell stories rule the world. And so we need to tell the story of the Kenyan developers and engineering talent and innovation for ourselves and invite the world to see it. So very excited about it. Everybody's welcome to join us.
It's something interesting that you said, even as we wind down on this, is that Kenya then is actually a hotbed for a lot of innovation, and the young people today who've gone to school, and we had a technology conversation a couple of weeks ago of young people who are going to school and learning rather honing, polishing up on something that they already have. And we're saying that now Kenya stands in a very possibly with its people stands in a position whereby the world and Kenya as itself can benefit from the technology that's being offered. Are we harnessing this enough? And what can we do to make sure that this country, bleeding into other countries, and we know the spots in Africa where this is happening, can we then deliver this kind of technological development that we then need to thrive as a continent in that space?
Thank you. That's one of the things that inspires me the most. By nature of my job, I travel all over this country, and you find places where people may not have electricity or water, but they're online and they're doing amazing things, and they're discovering how to solve the problems in their society there and putting together from just materials around them solutions. So one of the core things that we must do is we need to move from just being consumers of technology to creators of technology. And we then say that, hey, there is this solution that is needed, be it an infrastructure or a software solution, and we're going to build it in Kenya. But also, we need to believe in ourselves. Sometimes people only want to get things that have come by air or by ship. But how are we going to build our industries if we don't build things locally? But also, we need to move from just doing the basics to what you are saying, honing it as a craft, where we move we're not just at practitioner basic level. We actually become experts and masters. And that's one of the things we're doing in AI as a technology, saying, hey, as Safaricom, we want to take AI and we want to see how we can build centers of excellence.
Can I squeeze something in there really quickly? Children are in school. When you have such events, can you consider having, because that's the age we're looking at, kids who are in school right now who would benefit from something like this, would you consider holidays?
Yes, we will. And I think one of the exciting things, we will have some students going. And we've gone around, I think since I was last year, we've been to at least 7 universities and perhaps another 8 institutions of learning. Certainly a great thing, and I will share with the team. So we've been going to the school. Today the team is at today or tomorrow, actually, we'll be at Laikipia University. And so we are going to keep doing it. But high schools are exciting. I've had at least the pleasure of doing some things at my former high school where CT graced one day. And right now they're running a program jointly with Microsoft where we're teaching the high school students how to code. And I was so excited when the principal agreed with what we said. Everybody should learn how to code.
George, always exciting having you here and thinking about the things that can actually come about from technology and not just at a corporate level, but learning across the board. Thank you for being here this morning. And of course, definitely a conversation that can continue and should continue.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.